And when you lean into yourself, you're actually your greatest superpower, your greatest asset, because no one in the world can be you. And what I'm trying to show is you can do the same thing in whatever you're going to do in life, whether it's food, whether it's banking, whether it's food science, whatever you're going to go out and to do in a career, your asset is you.
Welcome to That's a Food Job, the podcast that uncovers the stories behind the people shaping the agri-food industry. I'm Veronica Hislop, and today's guest is the kind of food job title you won't find anywhere else. Jake Karls is the co-founder and chief rainmaker of Midday Squares, the good-for-you chocolate brand that grew from a kitchen table idea to now being sold in over 10,000 stores across North America. Jake's food job is to build relationships, not pitch products. By prioritizing genuine human connection over anything transactional, he has earned the trust of investors, buyers, store managers, influencers, and the food community as a whole. But what he really wants students to know is that your story and being unapologetically yourself might be your greatest career asset. Let's dig into this conversation with Jake. Thank you so much, Jake, for sitting down with me. I'm so excited to have you on the show. Love your product. I haven't had a chance to try the new peanut butter.
Bread PBJ. That's the hottest item.
I know. I don't know how it slipped my. I've been seeing it all over socials, but I'm so happy to have you on the show and talk. I love Midday Squares. Love great, perfect pick me up. Mine's not for midday. Mine's usually right before bed. Favorite time to eat that. I love the sweets right before the bed. It's like a reward. Like you got through the day.
I like that. I like that. Like that. That's a good. It's a good marketing campaign.
It's how it's like my reward for the day. It's like I don't feel bad going on like a sugar high right before bed, even though that's kind of what Midday Squares is kind of meant to do, is give you that little pick me up, but it's perfect for me to wind down. So, we're here to talk about your food job, and you probably have the only person I know with your food job title. So you got to explain that to us. Let us know about your food job.
So when I started this business in August of 2018, my partners are my sister and my brother-in-law. So when we started, they were co-CEOs, or they are co-CEOs now, but they started as co-CEOs, and I decided that I was going to be the CMO of the business. And I chose that role because slightly about my ego is like they're chief something officer, and I'm like, I got to be a chief something officer. And I was good at marketing and storytelling. And my role was to make noise, build community, build out the brand. And I started that role for about like 8 months or 9 months. And I was struggling a lot. I was struggling with the management perspective. I was struggling with like just leading in that department. And it wasn't fitting. And then finally, after like a ton of therapy, because I go to therapy with my two partners, let's say once every 7 to 10 or even 14 days now, depending on our schedules. We do it to stay aligned and communicate. I figured out that it wasn't for me. I wasn't enjoying myself. I wasn't giving it, my all in terms of what I could be doing, or, I wasn't giving my superpower. And what I realized was I actually had to step away from that role, and I stepped down from the CMO role, and I decided that I was going to do what I was great at. And what I was great at was building relationships, making friends, making noise, getting people excited about Midday Squares or the brand. And what it slowly turned out to be was I was just a rainmaker. I was making friends. I was building the relationships for every different department of our organization to have relationships in finance, in media, in the industry, in retail. And what I do is I spend my time traveling. I give a ton of talks. I do a ton of media. I do a ton of one-on-ones, dinners, etc., just to make friends. And then those friends, if they turn into business later, great. If they don't, they're friends, and that's awesome too. So I approach it with a way where I'm not reporting into anyone. There's no really KPI. The KPI itself is, am I making friends or not? That's the big KPI. And as I'm doing that, the way I'm able to reach people is I'm building out loud on social media, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, and I'm telling the story in a fun way. I'm showing the good, the bad, the ugly, and people are resonating or they're relating. And then I'll reach out to them. I'm like, hey, do you want to hang out? I'm in New York for the day. Let's get 5 minutes of coffee or 5 minutes of, let's get a beverage. And I'll meet them, and it's not business focused. It's more friendship focused. And then eventually that could potentially turn into a business relationship. So that's what I do, 24/7, 365. It's exhausting. I took 120 plus flights last year or something for work. But also makes me feel alive. So I think that's the difference from the CMO position compared to now, is I wasn't feeling alive and I wasn't playing to my strengths. Now I'm feeling alive and I'm playing to my strengths.
Well, that is so amazing for me to like hear, to be able to do that, because I find that I do enjoy talking with people. I love about learning with them, but then it comes to coming back to it. It's like you're on this high and then coming back down low. You're like, you don't know what to do with yourself. Like, I like talking with people, but I'm introverted. So like I'm still on that high afterwards, and it's like almost like the jitters. It's crazy.
Well, my jitters come from a ton of caffeine. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. I actually love the jitters. So when I have a human relationship, like when I go out and meet someone in person and we build that relationship, it's humanized. It's not transactional, right? So I'm on a high of life because it's like it's fun. It's not like I need something from you, you need something from me. If that turns into something, great. That's a win-win. But otherwise, I'm meeting new people, right? You get to meet all different types of people and you learn. And I'm lucky that my partners and my board and my team allow me to do what I do. But what ends up happening typically is I'll build these relationships for a year or two before, and then eventually those relationships will actually turn to something very significant for the organization. And they'll be like, oh my God, Jake, can you call that person you're friends with? Or Jake, can you get that person to come to our facility? And I can, because I'm in consistent conversations with them. I'm actually friends with them. And what that does is it creates a warm relationship into the organization, into my sales team, into our finance team, into our QA safety team. So, look, I think every company needs a rainmaker. And, I think as a founder, you have this love and deep depth for an organization. So you're willing to do almost anything for it. So if you're doing that and rainmaking, you're willing to go all the way. And you're right, there's a ton of dopamine highs, but there's also a lot of lows, because as you're out there, you're making noise, you're doing things, you're on like adrenaline, you keep going and going and going, and then you come home and it's like, well, if I'm not doing anything at the office, I'm not adding value at the facility, that's not what I do. What am I supposed to do when I'm home? And what I've learned through therapy, actually, I'm a huge advocate, as you can see, for therapy, is I learned to recharge when I'm in Montreal. I learned to bring it back down, get clear, get back on, working out, get back on sleeping well, get back on eating well, and get back to it. Kind of like an NFL athlete, they play on Sundays, but they recharge, recover till the next Sunday. And I do the same thing with my trips that I go do the rainmaking, and then I come back to Montreal and I basically get bored. The goal is to get bored and then re-go 100% or 150% on the next trip. So it's a very unique position, but it's really valuable for any organization or food organization, because when you're selling a consumable product, number one, anyone could potentially be your customer. Number two is you need relationships in order to scale these businesses. It's almost impossible. So having them makes the organization, get the right resources, tools, or people to help that organization scale. If you don't have that, it's going to be a lot harder.
Well, thinking about like our audience, because it is a student audience and they're looking to go in the food and beverage industry. And I think for them, there's a lot of this scarcity because they haven't had this job yet. Like they're not building a business. They're just trying to get a job. And it's like, how do you navigate networking in a way that you're not, I want a job from this person? Because I think that was a struggle of mine, that I did want to be genuinely interested in this person. But then in the back of my mind, it was always like, I have to present myself a certain way. I have to get a job out of this. Like, how do you approach that? Because I feel like that's kind of in your area where you are looking genuinely to build relationships, but there might be that later down the line. So like, how do you navigate that feeling?
I love that. And I spent a lot of my time going to universities across North America. I just came back from UCLA last week.
Nice.
I was at Wharton, the week before. I'm going to McGill next week. And I spent time with the typically business students. So it's more, either MBAs or undergrads, which I should do more different departments. But what I do with them is I try to show them that by being yourself, being on average, telling your story out loud, living life through the lens of your, who you are, trusting your gut, not conforming to everybody else in the classroom or everyone else in the world, then statistically you're going to have an unaverage outcome by being that way, which means you're different. And when you lean into yourself, you're actually your greatest superpower, your greatest asset, because no one in the world can be you. So my idea is, and my why in life is to show the world that I can build a business in a very saturated, very competitive, a very old school industry by being me, by being us in our business and creating our own path. And what I'm trying to show is you can do the same thing in whatever you're going to do in life, whether it's food, whether it's banking, whether it's food science, whatever you're going to go out and to do in a career. Your asset is you, but we tend to not show that side of us. We're, whether, I don't know where that came from, but many years of like just playing it safe or conforming. So what I would say to these students listening to this podcast is I didn't do well in school. And it didn't fit for me. And I respect school. I love school. I went to Western University. I love the time of my life. I love the people there. I love the professors. I love the everything about it, to be honest with you. But I needed to make my own path. And how I did that was I leaned into what I found were my superpowers. And once I did that and I accessed that, I was thriving. And I don't mean I was having ultra success. I was going through ups and major downs, but I was learning from the downs. I was actually winning from my failures because I was like, oh, I learned to not do this, or I learned that this is actually a better way. But I had the courage to get there because I tried, right? So I would say as you're going to network or you're going to get for a job, be you. Like, you're put on this earth to be yourself, and you are unique, and your family knows that about you, or your friends. That's why they love you. Show the job interviewer or the networker that you're networking with that this is who you are, and they're either going to love you or they're not going to love you. But if they love you, it's going to give you a chance. It's going to give you a chance at building a deeper relationship, of actually humanizing the experience. But if you just talk about your resume, you talk about your grades, you talk about all the stuff that trust me, is amazing about you and is very difficult to get. That's not enough in today's world. In today's world, the humanization is your unfair advantage. It's why people want to be around you. Energy is contagious. Share it. Even if you're an introvert, even if you're an extrovert, there's something unique about you, and you got to show that. So it's hard. It's scary. But the moment you start doing it, you're going to build a muscle that gets more comfortable and more comfortable doing it. So you got to take baby steps every day to either share your story online. That's not the conformed story or not the safe story. Or showing that in person in a job interview. And you might not get the job, by the way. You might get completely rejected. But you'll have learned something. You'll have gone through something. You'll have gone through failure, rejection, but you at least know you were being you. You at least know your authenticity was striking. Because your authenticity is your greatest asset that you have. You just need to lean into it. And we've done that at Midday Squares. And in a very competitive market, it's allowed us to stand out for a budget that is way less than our competitors.
It's crazy that you mentioned the way you put it, because when I go on LinkedIn, like, I feel like I've talked to you before and we've never had a conversation before this day, but I feel as though like I have an idea of who you are, like dancing in the grocery store, setting. I love the optimism piece where you're like fixing up, for your competitors. You want everyone to win, and it's not just a us or them. It's like, let's build everyone up together. And one thing that has stood out to me is, like, I know that you have spoken about your brand in a way, or you're a bold person, but not everyone is a bold person when it comes to storytelling. And I know that you're saying be authentic to you, but I feel as though, like, for many people going through college or university, you don't know who you are yet. Like, do you have any suggestions on just like,
Yeah.
I mean, we're always changing as people as well, but like, how do you kind of start to figure out what makes you you and what makes you unique as well?
So I love that. And I'm grateful that you know me via my social. And I hope that I'm the same person that you see online, that you're seeing right now in a conversation, or the energy levels, or because that would mean if I'm not, then there's a disconnect, right? And that disconnect is dangerous. But, for anyone out there, yeah, like I got bold. I wasn't bold till I was 25 in terms of storytelling. I was scared. My biggest insecurities are my ability to articulate, my ability to communicate, my slanted teeth, which you can kind of see here. I'm not insecure about them anymore. But, I always I would hide myself because I didn't feel like I was smart enough. And what got me better, what got me at least to become more bold and have more conviction, was I purposely, intentionally tried to put myself in things that made me a little bit uncomfortable consistently, every day, once a day. Try something. So, for example, let's say it was, at my dinner table with my family. Even though they're family, I was still uncomfortable to share a story from the day that I experienced. I would go and do that. Even if it was horrible, I would share it. And then I would do it again. And I kept on just doing that, like, little bit better every day, 1% every day. And then slowly I start to see the growth not just be a straight line slowly going up, but then it turned into a very high compounding effect, like a hockey stick curve. And the only reason why was because I was consistent in putting myself intentionally in discomfort that can make me grow. And I made mistakes doing it. Trust me, I moments where there was adversity and there was hardship and there was rejection, there was failure, but I did it. I had the courage to do it. And once I built that courage to get stronger and stronger and stronger, then being bold was just natural. It became natural. And, we talked about public speaking. That was one of my biggest fears. Now I go to, I do about 50 to 100 stages per year, I would say.
Oh my gosh.
And yeah, whether that's schools, conferences, offices that I speak at, but it's not that I don't get jitters or butterflies in the stomach. I still do, but I have more conviction in myself, and I know that this is where I'm supposed to be. And I think there's two parts to it: the discomfort, and the second part is the story that you tell yourself is probably one of the most important stories you will ever share. And what I mean by that is you can tell yourself you're not good enough. You can tell yourself you shouldn't be public speaking. You can tell yourself you have to be a certain way in a job interview. It's contagious if you tell yourself that story consistently. So if you shift that story, even if it's a bit off and weird and strange to shift it, it gives you a chance of getting out of the routine or the rhythm you're already in. And the story I used to tell myself was I was insecure with my slats teeth. Now I tell myself it's who I am. It makes me, in my opinion, funky, different. I love it. So guess what? Now I smile and I go out there and I make noise with that, and I don't mind it as much, right? So shifting the story is something that you have to consistently continue to work on forever. And that muscle will get stronger and stronger and stronger. And then eventually, next thing you know, you'll be bold like you never thought you'd be bold, and you'll be sharing your story like you never thought you'd be sharing it.
I mean, yes, when you sat down, I was nervous coming into this call because you do have this huge social thing. Like, there's this parasocial. I'm like, oh, they have such a big platform and all that. But like, as soon as we sat on the call, you like asked about me, and I was like, okay, nervousness has gone down. He is like what
You're incredible. I respect your I respect your energy. You know, you also are bold in a way, and you don't even realize it. But you were very bold about getting me on the podcast, and like you got it done, right? So like, it's just like that kind of stuff should give you momentum. And you know, like you didn't stop till you got what you wanted, and I respect that. That means you had conviction, you had this goal, and you accomplished the goal, right? So that should build on that, right? And momentum is probably one of humans' greatest forces in life, in business or in personal life. But here's how it works. There's two ways. There's the positive momentum, which you do something good, you keep going, you take that, you keep going, and it keeps growing, growing, growing. But then there's the negative momentum where you don't get the job interview, and then you say to yourself, well, I'm not great, or that sucks, I'm losing my confidence. And then negative momentum's in a spiral that could be very dangerous, that's infinite. So you got to make an active effort to intentionally go positive momentum and put the time and energy, even though it's hard to do it. It might take time, but at least you're moving it in the right direction. Even if it's small baby steps, that will slowly create momentum. And you and I having this conversation today is the work that you did before, which was momentous. And now you're going to take that and you're going to get someone way bigger than me on the podcast, way smarter than me, and because you have momentum. You're
a good cheerleader, man. Like, you're just like getting me pumped already, because it's and I think it shows, like, having people in your camp makes such a big difference. I think that's a piece that maybe doesn't get talked about enough, is like when you have, I was talking about like being on that high. Well, my partner's here to talk me through it. It's like, get me back to earth. And, you know, and I'll also applaud to the speaking of therapy as well. I know that might not be where I thought this was going, but like even myself, they've also I've gone through it myself, and I definitely have felt like they'll notice your blind spots that you might know, or they'll be your cheerleader a bit and point out the things that are positive about what you did do comfortably, or you went out there and tried something. So like, I think that goes back to what you're doing now with the rainmaking, or like being a rainmaker is just like being with other people and building those relationships.
And mentorship doesn't have to be physical. And what I mean by that is like physical, like going for a coffee, or like, or meeting someone at a networking event. You could have mentorship via social media, the stuff you feed the algorithm. So algorithms, if you look certain things up, it will hopefully pitch you on those things or show you content on those things. But you could be intentional. You could say, for me, I love dancing. So that's positive content. I type in on Instagram or TikTok, dancing. And then I watch people having the time of their life, and it fires me up. I start moving, grooving. I feel good. You can also be one content piece away from negativity. And that negativity can affect your mood, affect your boldness, make you feel lesser of, because I don't know what the content might be, but you're always one shift away from that. So you got to intentionally put yourself in content that makes you happy. And second, or intentionally putting yourself in content where you can find mentorship. So like, you know, people always say like, you know, who are your mentors? And I say it's anyone in the world, right? And they're like, how do you have access to them? I don't. I have access to their social media. I have access to some of the books they've written, which is knowledge. And with AI, you could really grab a lot of the knowledge and condense it. But what that means is we're living through a time where you can access brilliant minds on how they think, which can make you feel less alone, or less, you're less, there's so much stuff there. Like, I've seen entrepreneurs go through the same thing I've gone through by just reading what they've gone through, which makes me feel better. It makes me feel like I could do it. And, you know, I think mentorship, people get stuck on this idea, well, I'm going to reach out and they might not answer, and like then they get bogged down. Okay, that might happen, and you might get them physically, and that would be great. But you also have access to the internet. If you do, that's it's a huge privilege. We're living through a time where you could literally almost understand exactly how the greatest entrepreneurs in the world literally ran their business, their playbooks. They share it. A lot of them are very deep on what they share. And that type of content wasn't available potentially 25 years ago. So that's how I look at mentorship, and I look at, people on any platform. Like, you said you saw me on LinkedIn. Yeah, you getting to know me. You see me dancing in the grocery store. It's positivity. It's optimism,
Yeah.
right? So you feel something from it. So that's a type of mentorship, right? So you're going to go spread hopefully optimism in the world as well. So like, I hope students realize that, like, if you do have internet, if you do have social media, you could be intentional of what you see to make you feel good and be in a good headspace, or you could be in a negative headspace, very possible. And the second part to that is you could also find wisdom, knowledge, and content from some of the people that are going through or have been through what you're about to go through. And I think that's super powerful.
It is. And I know there's this negativity with social media, and rightfully so. You get a lot of algorithm, but there's so much nice things, like with the past Expo West that happened.
Yep.
And then the Canadian Health Food Association. I've been just seeing people talk about one person and talk about the other person and their smiles. And I met this person. I'm not an entrepreneur. I don't plan to be, but I feel like I was there from the energy, and it just like made me happy. I just was like, I'm so happy for their success, or, okay, it didn't go well, but I'm seeing that they're learning, and it can bring you up, and it gets you into the space as well. And I guess that's a good way of putting it. It's like almost mentorship, parasocial mentorship. I don't know, but you're right. There's a lot of things online that you can learn from and get that optimism from. Yeah. And then as well, I guess coming back to the networking, because I always like more some tangible tips. And like, let's just say with students, they finally managed to get like that, they're at the networking event, or they got a coffee. Like, what's the best way to start? Like, how would you want to be talked about? Or like, how would you want to be introduced, I guess?
I think the key here for me is with networking is, and I might be, I'm very strong on this opinion, and again, I'm willing to learn otherwise, but I believe in building out loud. What I mean by that is, you might not be in a job while you're in school, but you're learning a lot. You're going through really cool experiences that millions of other students are going through around the world, so they can relate and connect, and or many millions have already gone through those through school in the past. So I would start creating content about your experience and sharing it on LinkedIn, on platforms where there's a ton of corporate or a ton of people you want to network with, so that people can get familiar with you. Not everyone's going to like your content, but it takes one person to see it, and your whole life changes, right? It could be the next person that invests in your company, that hires you, that becomes the person you marry. I don't know. They hear your story, they see it, and then they relate, they resonate, they feel good, they feel bad, whatever it is. You got to share your story. So when you go to a networking event and you've shared your story for the past, you've shared a bunch of stories of your life for the past year, that person at the networking event sees you and is like, I actually know you. I've seen your content. I would love to chat. So there's all this like warmness that happens before. So number one, build out loud. I think you got to learn how to do it, whether it's on Instagram, TikTok, LinkedIn, X, whatever platforms you want to do, all of the platforms. Find out what's good, best for you, and share. Second, when you show up to an event, what I would do as a tip and tool is, remember, everyone's there with the intention that they're there to meet people, more or less. Most people are coming to an event, a networking event specifically, to network. So you're all in the same boat. So no one's better than another person. We're all here for the same intention. Once you understand that, the barriers of fear might come down, because there's a lot of people that are feeling the exact same way as you. And then the story you tell yourself is like, that person actually is thinking the same thing I'm thinking. So I'm just going to go up to them and say, how are you? Like, what's up? My name's Jake. And be yourself is the third. Like, people love you because of who you are. Your closest people in your life love you because of who you are. So someone else is going to love you out there, or like you, or be interested in terms of your knowledge or your experience or who you are. But don't put on the mask. Don't put on the armor when you're going. Let that come down. Work on that at home. Work on that with friends to make sure that you go and you are yourself, because once people get that, they're either going to like you or not like you. And then if they don't like you, good. They don't need them in your life. If they like you, let's go all in. Let's work together. Let's build. Let's do this. So I think the less pressure you create on yourself for these networking events, the more you're going to be yourself, and the more you're actually going to come in and win at a networking event. And then also lose the KPI. You don't need a KPI. You don't need to know that I'm going to this event to meet 10 people. No, that's pressure. Focus on, I'm going to this event to have fun. Whatever happens, happens. But I'm going to lead with fun and a good heart. You do that, I guarantee you meet more than 10 people. Because when you're having fun, energy is contagious. People want to be around it. They feel it. There's this energy transfer. And I just think that those are the four things. It's like, have fun, lose the KPI, be yourself, and build out loud prior to going to these events.
Really basic question, but what is like, we say storytelling, but, and you're like, share your story. Well, what is a story? Like, for those that might not be English, or that you get so caught up in the science, for example, for me, it's like, well, what is my story to share? Like,
well, your knowledge. So like your experiences. So like a story is literally just, in my opinion, it's just sharing whether it's real or like a fairy tale or actual truth, and either both are good because fiction and nonfiction is good, but it's how do you make someone feel something from the information you've have. For example, you're in food science. There's so much cool stuff from food science that people have no idea about how food gets made, like the reactions of certain foods with each other. But like you could tell that story. And I'm going to give an example, like how we made our strawberry no bread PBJ. Our food scientists worked super hard on innovation. And so we told the story of the innovation of how it happened, not just, oh, this is a delicious snack that has protein and fiber. That's boring. We told the science in a way that the jelly, how it stays on the peanut butter, is extremely difficult on a manufacturing process, but it took us 2 years to make. And here's all the things that happen. Again, we brought more emotion into it. So I think stories are anything you want in the world. They could be anything. It could be the most dull thing in the world. But I think the best stories or the better stories are ones that evoke an emotion, that has emotionality in it. So the second part of this whole thing is some people are scared to share stories because they're telling themselves a story that their story is not interesting. That's something that's incorrect as well, because the only reason why you might think your story is not interesting, whether it's about food science that you're going through or whether it's about, just your general life, you live it 24/7, 365. So you might not think someone wants to know about it, but I don't live your story 24/7, 365.
That's true.
So I might be curious. So you don't know. And it takes one person to feel something from your story, and boom, life changes because of opportunity. So knowing that, like, why would you not share? Even if you think it's boring, what's the worst case? Someone judges you, someone makes fun of you, they don't hire you. Okay, there's a lot of other people in the world, and there's a lot of other opportunities in the world, or maybe there might not be other opportunities, but they might come up and someone might remember that this story was something important to them, and then they want to work with you now. Or you get into, the dean of a school sees it. So like, all I'm saying is the surface level is wide. And if no one knows your story or no one knows, anything about you, it's a lot harder to succeed in terms of getting the job or getting your product sold somewhere or even networking, right? So attention is a valuable asset. Try to win people's attention and do it by creating emotions and feelings rather than facts and figures.
Difficult for a scientist sometimes, but I know we always, because I think that we hide behind the facts as well, because it's easy. It's much easier than but going through your own emotions and sharing that. So I think that's really good piece of advice. And then that storytelling piece. And I love that you're able to share about like the networking and being yourself, because we put so much pressure on ourselves to be perfect in that. And, there's already enough going on in the world. We don't need to add more to ourselves to add to it.
There's too much. So like, just let it happen the way it happens. And you want the least amount of friction. And the way you create the least amount of friction is you work on the mental component, the mental strength of the story you tell yourself. And that will cause a lot more opportunities or a lot more stress depending on what story you tell yourself. So I would work on that story. That's the thing I would say to you work on every day is what story are you telling yourself? Ask yourself, what is that story and why? And get deep to that answer. Spend time alone to figure that answer, because only you will know. No one can tell it for you. It's only you. You have the power, not anyone else.
And I think another thing as well is that I think you've mentioned before is that when you put it out in the world, if it doesn't, attention is powerful. People pay money to get people's attention. If you do something that doesn't get someone's attention, well, it goes away. Like it just kind of gets washed up.
As long as you are a good person and you believe that, you genuinely believe that, then sharing your story is a net positive. And I'll tell you why. Because, someone might dislike your post and say, oh, Rainmaker's dumb. Who the hell's a Rainmaker? And make fun of me and say, oh, you have slanted teeth, like talking about me. And the truth is good. That person's obviously, needs help. So I'm going to go help that person because they don't know me. They have no relatability to me. I'm going to reach out and say, are you okay? As a human, I could check in on that person. That person's obviously suffering if they have to put me down for me being a good person and just trying to share something with the world. Now, if you're a bad person, it's very different. You have bad intentions, right?
True. Yeah.
So anyway, so 7 out of 10 times, the trolls I have from the people I was originally scared of or worried about that were going to put me down or make fun of me, they usually apologize and say, I had a bad day, so sorry. Like, I actually don't know you, or like, I feel bad that I even said that. I didn't mean it. So then we become potentially friends. But then 3 out of 10 times, it's negative people that have, maybe, just too much negativity to them. So I just block them. They're out of my life. It's cut because they don't deserve my content if that's the type of behavior they want to do. So in the end, there's no loss, right? It's just opportunities. And if someone doesn't want to see your story anymore, they don't have to either. So it's their choice today. They could block, unsubscribe, change the channel, fast forward, delete. So that's the beauty of the internet as well, is more and more the consumers getting more power to choose what they want to pay attention to and why they pay attention.
I love that. I won't keep you much longer, Jake, but I do want to just talk about a little bit more about Midday Squares and just like what's coming up for you. I know that you did a lot of really great stuff at Expo West, and I just want to know, like, what are we going to be seeing coming up from you soon?
So we started Midday Squares with a functional chocolate bar was the first product. It was basically a hard chocolate top with a soft bottom of like a dough. And we had a brownie flavor, almond. We had a cookie dough, a peanut butter, a crunchy peanut. And it's delicious. It's amazing. And they had a little bit of protein fiber. And then 2 years ago, cocoa prices skyrocketed in the world as a supply chain. And we had two options at the time: raise prices to sustain the costs that came from the increase, because our products were, majority was cocoa, and the second option was innovate out of it, so that way we keep the prices low, and then we innovate out, so we create a product that's different that we can sustain with over time. So what we chose to do is, with our food scientists, we chose to innovate outside and keep the prices of our chocolate products the way they are and don't raise them, and eat the costs there. And what ended up happening was we did 2 years of research, R&D, testing, trials, consumer feedback data, and we created what we call the first no bread PBJ on the market, which is what it is just a nostalgic snack that people had as kids or have now, of a moment of happiness, because that's what people usually remember from good times. And it's a PBJ without the bread, and it's got some protein, fiber, a great deck of ingredients, and we made it, and we looked at the market, and no one was doing that in terms of, everyone had PBJs with bread or whatever, some sort of like whatever, oats, whatever they were using to do it. We did our first no bread PBJ, and then now the future, the feedback's been incredible, majority incredible for this product. So we're going to create an entire line dedicated to this no bread PBJ, and we still make our functional chocolate bars. But the beauty of it is that Midday Squares started as a chocolate company. Now it's becoming an afternoon snacking business. And I know you eat the Midday Squares, midnight squares, let's call them.
There we go.
But we want to be known as one of the most trusted afternoon snacks in the better for you space. That's our goal. That's our mission. That's our vision. So whatever snacks we could build over time to do that, we're going to do. And we live in the refrigerated section because we're fresh, and we're going to continue to grow that and hopefully win that. And that's kind of what's on the horizon for us. So we've got really exciting flavors coming this year, actually, and next year. So our R&D team and our food science team is working really, really hard to get this done. And it's difficult because your job, this, and what you're studying is real. It is science, and it's hard. So I know people don't get to see it a lot, but that's a lot goes into making a product, especially in food. And, we self-manufacture, so we don't co-manufacture our products. We do it all in-house in Montreal.
And that's huge right there. Like that is a feat to make your own stuff. Yeah.
It's a moat. It's hard.
It's hard.
It's definitely hard because you have, machine purchasing, things break, you have to learn you have the constraints and all this stuff. But at the end of the day, like, nothing in life is easy. So, you want to build something great, it's going to be hard, and it's just part of the process. But again, get ready for a crazy no bread PBJ flavors that are coming. You got to try our first one, which is a strawberry PBJ.
Yes, I don't know how, like, I eat peanut butter and jelly sandwiches like at least once a week for dinner. Like, that is my dinner. I know. So I know what I'm doing after this call. I'm going to go to the store and I got to go get me some.
Are you in Toronto?
I am. Yeah.
So Metro Ontario has it. Walmart Ontario, Longo's Healthy Planet. You've got it at, all the stores there, Summerhill Market, always in the fridge. And Sobeys, Loblaws should have it this week. So All the ones have it. Let us know your feedback. Honestly,
Absolutely.
took 2 years to make, and it was a really cool innovation. And keeping it together when you have jelly stay together on top with no preservatives.
Yeah.
On peanut butter was really difficult.
Oh, I can see the science. I'm so excited, and I'll keep up with that. But yeah, no, I know what I'm doing.
I eat 2 a day.
I don't see why not. Maybe it'll be my new breakfast. Who knows? I'm not a.
I eat it at the breakfast. I eat it at breakfast.
Okay. See, I'm not a midday snacker, so I'm more like before bed and then for breakfast. So I'm going to be checking it out, Jake, but thank you so much for sitting with me. I'm so excited to be able to share all this with students. I think that it's, telling your story, especially when you're young, you're like, I don't even have a story to share. But I think we get so caught up in our own little bubble that we forget that there's people outside. Like, the world's not made up of whatever your school that you're going into. It's a whole wonderful people, and the food industry is awesome, and they'd love to hear more about it. And we need to share the food industry. I think that there's a lot of secrecy and knowing who are the people behind it, and there's just people trying to make some good food out there.
Every story has something interesting about it, so share it. And you're one step away from your whole life changing when someone hears that story.
That's it for this episode. If Jake's story taught you anything, it is to be unapologetically yourself, because it can be your greatest career asset. To keep up with future episodes, please subscribe wherever you love to listen to these podcasts, or head over to YouTube to subscribe. And if you're enjoying the show, please leave us a review or rating. We read every single one of them, and we always love hearing about your thoughts on the episodes. Until next time, remember that there is something for everyone in food, and here at Food Grats, we are here to help you find it.